All right, so a first fresh look at the charts in a couple of days, and Bitcoin has set its all-time high up here at 112. Obviously, we already knew about that, and it's just been tumbling a little bit lower. I've been seeing sentiment worsen across, the group chats and so on, Twitter and everything like that. But I haven't really seen price show me anything concerning. So, because I haven't looked at the charts, but it's always on my iPhone on the homepage, of course, because I can't get away from this bitch. But we've got just a little bit of a retracement after, unfortunately, only a slightly higher all-time high. We are all too used to this right now. In fact, let's go ahead and put this on the BLX chart and get a little bit of perspective on this chart right here. It's I don't know, like I want to laugh at it because it's painful, but like it's really not even that funny anymore. Just this constant cycle of I want some big fat arrows this time, ladies and gents, because it's just taking the piss now, isn't it? Where's the arrow icon? Is it going to be Oh, I've forgotten where it is. Yeah, icons, of course. It'll be in icons. We're just going to get a nice big surrender flag. How about that? Because that's kind of how this feels at this stage, yeah? Just put a nice big flag right there. And then, yeah, obviously another one up here, and another one up here, and then up here, and up here. And then we did it again, and again, and again, yeah. So that's what we're looking at. That's a lot of flags. We don't really like these flags, and each of these flags are only slightly higher all-time highs, okay? And if we go ahead and, measure them just to kind of gain a bit of perspective here, that's going to be a 6% higher all-time high. That's about 6 again. That, we got to zoom in a little bit because this is not so easy to do accurately. And then from here, from this all-time high to this one, you're looking at about 3, and then you're looking at about 3 again. Yeah, pretty shit, ladies and gents. Like, I mean, it's just really, really painful. This one was a nice big jump, right? Well, actually, no, this one wasn't. This was against 6. And by the way, like, we're getting perspective here. That's 850 days of, 6%, 7%, slightly higher all-time highs. No one's making money off that, right? Like, if you bought the top and you waited 850 days to get 6% more profit for one fucking day, you're gonna be pissed off. I mean, because it's funny now. Right now, it's like a running joke in the space. It's a running joke in the space that everybody is depressed, even though prices for Bitcoin are going up, right? And I've been joking about it probably more than I think other people. Because I'm a Bitcoin maxi. So, welcome to the channel, ladies and gents. It's not just that I'm a Bitcoin maxi, it's more specifically that I'm a Bitcoin maxi through and through, while dominance is clearly on the rise, right? Like, it doesn't make sense to be anything other than a Bitcoin maxi because of this chart, right? And I think hopefully at this stage, anybody that was stupid enough to disagree before is now humble enough to understand at this point. I really hope that's the case. And by the way, if that's not you, if you are one of the people that got this wrong and you're not humbled yet, then maybe, sir, maybe you've got a little bit too much ego running in this game with you, and that's not serving anybody. That's not serving anybody. That's not serving you, and that's not serving the people you want to help with the gains you're trying to make in this game, right? So leave your ego at the door. You are trading now. You are investing, okay? And people are pretty fucking, good at this game, Like, you're not going to do well. This is a big game. I make this point a lot to people, who I talk to about trading. Even spoken to clients about it. In this game, when you sit down at a poker table, okay, there's typically going to be some level of buy-in, right? Like, you're going to be, it's going to be like a $10 buy. I'm saying at a casino or whatever, but even in friendly groups, $10 buy-in, $100. It depends like how serious you guys are about poker, and your skill level will kind of go up like that, right? Not just poker, anything, chess tournaments, whatever you like. It'll go up in skill the more the stakes are higher. But in trading, it's an equal playing field in that sense from the very beginning. And it doesn't matter how financially illiterate you are. It doesn't matter how much of a degenerate gambler you are. It doesn't matter what boxes you check. You're sitting at the same table with the most powerful, craziest people that are the best at this game in the world. Okay? And if you take a childish approach or a gambler's approach, well, here you are, mate. You're going to be tied by ego to bags that you're too deep underwater on. Okay? And it's very, very hard to kind of get on the other side of this. But, it's necessary, okay? And again, this chart shows why I'm a Bitcoin maxi in this sense. But of course, I don't want to be a Bitcoin maxi forever, right? Because this happened before, and it happened the time before that, right? And on these big drops, you make life-changing money, ladies and gents. I mean, these were, by the way, I mean, let's just take a note of, you know, kind of where in the time frame this happened. I mean, this was March 2017, which, by the way, was when I entered crypto. You know, and the drop continued basically until January of 2018, okay? So that's the entire 2017 bull market. We're so far off topic, ladies and gents, but you know what? This needs to be spoken about today. This is what this channel is for. If you appreciate this content, smash up those likes. And, by the way, I do want to highlight to you, we've got right here, it's not linked in this description. Let me find you the link for it. There's 𝗙𝗢𝗟𝗟𝗢𝗪, which is a super interesting platform here for you guys to check out, where the 𝗙𝗢𝗟 team is actually going to be posting more content exclusively right here on 𝗙𝗢𝗟𝗟𝗢. So you can check that out. It's kind of like the 𝗙𝗢𝗟𝗟𝗍 Gold Telegram channel if you're already in that, where we're posting kind of updates on what we're looking at, you know, trade setups that look interesting and so on, you know, just kind of things that, you know, look interesting in the market from our eyes. And that's going exclusively on 𝗙𝗢𝗟𝗟𝗍 right now. So go ahead and check that out. You will miss on some pretty cool updates if you're not in there. And you get to see the post that we put out with that link on screen. So check that out if you are interested. But you know, with the BLX chart, if we just kind of go back to 2017 and take a look at those two dates, I mean, March 2017 to January 18 was the entire bull run. You know, it was a lot. Like, there was a lot of shit. I mean, it wasn't the entire bull run, obviously. It started much earlier, and this is, you know, the same kind of Bitcoin dominance pattern we discussed a long time ago. By the way, if you're not, you know, aware of this, if you haven't, you know, seen this stuff, then you need to watch my Bitcoin dominance deep dive video. It didn't do well, and honestly, I'm quite disappointed by that because this was an hour-long video. But you know what? That's completely fine because it's still packed with value. And you'll never not understand Bitcoin dominance after that video. It will, you know, it will flip a switch and you'll be a different trader, a different investor in crypto, right? This is a crypto specific thing. Also, I could be wrong, who knows? But you can clearly see kind of the last half, the last 35%, whatever you want to call it. This is where that Bitcoin dominance came down, right? So clearly super important time for the chart, and that's where obviously all that money would have been made, because, you know, all that money is going into Bitcoin, because you saw Bitcoin going up in the, you know, the last 3 quarters of 2017. You saw Bitcoin going up by a lot, but at the same time dominance is going down, right? So that paints a super clear picture, which is that total 2, which is everything except for Bitcoin, went up massively in that same time period, okay? If we take a look at that as well, it's you can really tell where it kicks off, believe it or not, right here, March 2017, and where does it end? January 2018, okay? Right here, this is total 2, crypto total market cap excluding Bitcoin, and this is where the explosion happens. So, you know, you want to be a Bitcoin maxi until you don't want to be a Bitcoin maxi, right? And then you kind of want to flip bias completely. But, you know, if Bitcoin's dominance is still trending up, then, you know, I don't think we're done. And if we're not done, then, I mean, shit, we might go up a little bit more and alts might suffer a little bit more. So that's important. Off topic, but important. Smash up the likes if you do appreciate that. Yeah, I get a lot of people asking me to make these videos shorter. I'm just like, I still don't know, like, where exactly I should be going, but actually, that's a lie. I feel pretty certain that this is the way because, you know, I could separate these ideas into different videos, but why? You want to learn this stuff on the job, you know? Like, you don't, you know, like, if it's something that, like, goes into your watch later list, then you're not doing yourself any good. But if it's something that you learn kind of, like, while you're seeing shit, while it's relevant, I think that's much more important. That's how I learn, you know? And, I don't know, it served me well. But anyway, let's continue. Obviously, we had a big jump in the all-time highs over here. This was 46%, this was 1%, and now we're looking at 3, right? So, in that sense, now getting back to the original point of the video a whole 9 minutes later, in that sense, this is not good. It's the same thing that's failed us many times before. So, you know, if you feel like that's going to be an important sign for you, then you have all of the answers. You don't need to, you know, watch this video or anything else. You know, you've made your conclusion, and your conclusion is probably, you know, that you're going to do something a little bit like this. at least, right? Maybe even worse, right? Something a little bit like this. That's probably your conclusion. And by the way, this is a theory that's going on in the space right now, and I really, really, really don't like you if you're putting this theory forward because it's painful, but you're also probably quite right. So I don't know. I want us to be open to this possibility because this is Bitcoin, and this is what Bitcoin now does. There's a lot of evidence, yeah? So I mean, obviously, we've been over this a lot. This is 220 days. Admittedly, this one was shorter. This was 2 months. And then this one, again, was, 240 days to break the all-time high. And, if we did something a little bit like this, I mean, this is, now going into kind of a whole year. So, I don't think that that's reasonable. But the point being that, we might just be in one mega range that looks something a little bit like this. Honestly, more likely than we probably want to admit. But also, again, it depends on the changing fundamental landscape, right? Like for me, the Trump election was a bullish event. And, I mean, it's not just me, actually, all the markets agreed with this, right? Like I'm sure we're quite aware of, post November 5th or whatever day the election was, things really, really took off, right? Where are we? Where's November 5th? Well, I guess not on the S&P. Well, it happened a little bit on the S&P, but it happened a lot in crypto and a lot in other stocks and stuff like that, right? Like there were a lot of like kind of mini bull runs going on everywhere. So clearly, the market was interested in it, and I think those are signs to pay attention to. Like and it actually makes sense. I think if you like, this is why I actually recommend people to read books on trading because you won't really like get this stuff unless you've really kind of studied it in the past, right? Because I think a big thing is, what separates veteran traders from new traders, it's experience, right? Like it's having skin in the game over a long period of time and seeing shit and living through shit and kind of getting over shit. And then you're in a better position to kind of handle the next, curveball that the markets throw at you, because that's the only thing the markets do is they throw curveballs at you. And so with that in mind, I think it's very, very interesting that you can kind of learn from, market experiences that other people have lived with books like Market Wizards. By the way, let me see if I can just throw this up on YouTube real quick here for you guys to see, because this is it's a really, really important book. And yes, yeah, I can't pull that up right now, but you could just check out the link and see how you feel about it. When you read it, it's a genuinely, I think, really, really good book, and you're gonna be grateful that you read it. For me, I kind of consider it like a Bible of sorts. As far as trading goes, I really, really appreciate having read it because I get to, I don't know, like have the wisdom of traders that are so much better than me. And by the way, it's like, I don't know, back in the day it was like $7 for one Audible credit, right? So it's super cheap. But anyway, to me, after everything I've learned, I'm expecting that the market will have a kind of big blow up immediately after a super bullish event like Trump getting elected. And in this case, by the way, it fell flat, right? Then there were tariffs and there was a lot of other stuff. And then obviously the S&P did that super famous back test of I don't know how famous it is, but it is to me, of the previous all-time high, right? So actually it turned out to be like the best case scenario. You get your initial big pump and then you kind of have a nice correction and now you're really in business. That's the hope, right? That's not been proven yet. Let's be clear. I mean, I'm not... I'm not, a Trump, I don't know. I don't believe Trump is Jesus, right? Like, I'm not trying to say that he's, the Messiah for us, but at the same time, I mean, it's following, some pretty healthy steps so far, right? Because one of the things we'll understand if we look at markets on a broad horizon, which is the perspective that you get from reading books, is that markets will kind of price something in initially with a lot of excitement, and that's what happened when the S&P, and Bitcoin and all our other beautiful investments really started to take off. For Bitcoin, it's so much more clear, by the way. Like for Bitcoin, it was like right here when Trump got elected, right? Like, yeah, right here. And obviously it just kicked, the bull run. I mean, this is the first time we set an all-time high more than fucking 6% up, and in this case it was actually 46%. It was a big deal. I mean, 74k to 108. Come on, like that's a pretty good rally. And so the markets, like that, and something changed, and I think that's really important, is the fact that something changed, something really, like a switch got flipped at that point. And you can still maintain that, we're just doing the same 3% up, 6% up all-time highs, with that position. If that's what you want to say, then you could do that. But I, as an analyst, I want to start asking myself at some point, am I actually stubborn in this idea, right? Like, have I been presented with data that actually tells me that it's different now? We've kind of moved to a slightly different point in the market, and because of that, things might start behaving differently, right? Like, those are important questions. Again, that's going to be you. Like, honestly, this is more of a political discussion. We've been well aware of this for the last few months now. Your politics will determine how you view this to an extent, not fully, but to an extent. So, with all of that in mind, this is a pretty healthy pullback to me, And by the way, what is that? Like 15 minutes of background to make one point? This is my point, right? Like, you could just come on here and do like 5 minutes of drawing some lines and boxes, and like, as a YouTuber, I'd be doing my job in that sense, but that's not really good enough, right? Like, if we're striving for a deep understanding of the market to the point where, nothing can surprise us, and we're prepared for everything, and we're not losing money where we don't need to be, and we're maximizing our gains where we can. If that's the approach that we're going for, I don't know how you can have that kind of conversation without taking it a few steps back first, just to make sure that we've got a healthy, kind of fundamental baseline understanding of everything at play. If we don't have that, then how can you build conclusions off that? You know what I mean? Like, that's my take. I don't know. I've only been doing this for 8 years, right? So I think that's a big deal for me. So, as far as what my real kind of technical analysis tells me right now, I'm looking for the support levels, right? I mean, we're in a little bit of a drop, and so there's going to be some potential kind of support levels in play. What I want to do first, though, is take a look at the fib levels, because now we really have a pretty confident high that's being punched in. And I just want to see what our Fibonacci retracement levels are telling us, because I think this could actually be quite interesting. And yeah, so we got a 618 down here, 87 to 88. This is a very nice level. I like this level. It's kind of the deviation of this rectangular box I've got here, this parallel channel, which stretches from 91 up to 90, well, yeah, up to 100 basically. This is obviously just a nice big 10k range, and Bitcoin has respected the bottom and the top of this range quite well. So I definitely think that, if Bitcoin, I'm not saying this is going to happen, but if Bitcoin were to come down here, then this 618 golden pocket would be a great kind of deviation level for Bitcoin to start doing something like that moving on afterwards. So I like that fib. The 382 level lines up exactly with where we topped out temporarily on the way up, so I think that's important. And if we go ahead and drop a horizontal line here, there's more confluence kind of building up from historic trading. So I could definitely see this 98k level being important for Bitcoin as well, and a pretty reasonable correction, right? Because the 100k level right here, it's going to be one of the more important kind of psychological round numbers, right? I mean, I don't really need to say more on that. So if Bitcoin does end up falling down there, again, I'm just talking in the language of deviations, right? You know me, Bitcoin's love language. That's what I call them. Bitcoin loves to do shit like this, and then kind of, continue on upwards. That's super typical for Bitcoin, and so that's going to be something that I've come to expect a little bit if we start falling down to, support levels that kind of look important on the chart. So I feel like the 382 level has been validated pretty well. I feel like the 618 level down here has been validated pretty well. And in light of all of that, I'm pretty confident about what I'm seeing. I feel like, if this thing ends up tumbling lower, obviously we've got a little bit of support here at about 103, right? That's been built up historically as well. And then lower than that, we've just got tons of support. But this leads me to my next problem, is that there's good support that you can make a strong argument for at every level here, right? I mean, 103 makes sense because we don't really need a big pullback right now. This would kind of be in line with the pullbacks we've seen, right? Let me go ahead and calculate this and see if I'm talking out of my ass real quick. So that's 5% down. That was 3% down, and this would be 7% down. So it's on par, right? I mean, it's a little bit bigger than what we saw, but it's not substantially larger. So it makes sense that Bitcoin can kind of collapse down to there, but you can make good arguments that it's got to come lower because shit, it just set a new all-time high or whatever, right? So like you can totally argue for 100 as well, or 97, and then at that point you can't really pick where you want to be on this chart, right? Like if you want to start taking a position, you can ladder, and that's great if you're going low leverage or spot, which is amazing. I mean, that's usually a much safer way to trade, right? Most people are going to have a lot more success doing just simple stuff like that. So if that's your take, then actually you've got a pretty easy chart here, because you might not think, I don't think that we would, if we correct, I don't think that we're coming lower than 97, but you know what, we could return back into this range, because we get tunnel vision when shit moves quickly. We got to keep this in mind. We get tunnel vision. We're not able to see that deeper corrections can happen, but certain indicators will be showing that to us quietly the whole time. Let's see what our Ichimoku cloud says right now. And it's got support building right in the middle of this 90k range. So if this thing were to start tumbling down over the next couple of weeks going into mid-June, the support on this time frame for the Ichimoku only starts in the mid-90s, right? So these longer term indicators will show you that perspective, but you're not usually going to hold it particularly close to you when the market is moving aggressively. But I do have to say, this is a pretty ugly wick. That's not good. And that's going to be something that we've got to probably pay a little bit of attention to. It looks like there's just 4 hours left on this candle here, so we'll see how this goes. If Bitcoin can kind of do something about this, but obviously at this stage the week is over. It probably can't do anything about it anymore. I'm not too worried about that though. I mean, it at least wasn't some of the more horrible wicks that we got previously. Let's see how some of the previous all-time highs went. Yeah, I mean, these were worse wicks, I think, that we got previously, so it's not as bad. And I think crucially, we've now built a lot of support, but hey, that didn't help us before. No, it didn't help us before on this occasion here. So, again, I think your fundamental read is going to tell you where you think this can go. I mean, there is still people that are saying that, the Trump effect of crashing the economy hasn't happened yet, and it's going to take a little bit of time. And I'm sure they've got some really nice fancy charts and data telling them, that their conclusion is correct, right? So that's why we have healthy functioning markets. But as far as these support levels go, I feel like, for a kind of shorter term trading perspective, there isn't really anything particularly clear over here. There might be on altcoins, right? Like I really like the fact that, Trump coin, for example, has been returning to this range consistently down here. I mean, this is a pretty big deal to me. The fact that it's fallen down to this range at this point, obviously Bitcoin's in a correctional wave. So, it could definitely, the risk of it sweeping the low is higher now than it has been at any point since the 13th of May. But still, an interesting chart nonetheless. And I think that given how well it's respecting support levels, I mean, I don't have any reason to expect that it will not respect this, kind of $10.70 area as well, where it's bounced off pretty consistently, right? And we're seeing that across a couple of charts. I mean, Solana, it's had a couple of pumps, setting some higher highs, also lower lows. Doesn't really make sense what it's doing, but it's still returning down to predictable support levels. So it's nice that we have a clearer picture on alts right now, although it might not matter too much, because if Bitcoin is in free fall, then these coins might suffer a little bit more. As far as Bitcoin on this ultra short time frame goes, I still think that this is going down. I don't really see this recovering yet. I think that it's got to come down to probably at least 103. I just feel like at this stage it's just not a particular. We're on the 1 hour time frame and it's just not looking great. We're getting a pretty clear sequence of kind of lower highs on this chart, and we're also slipping down a little bit. To be fair, you could read this as kind of, the trend starting to reverse, the downtrend getting weaker, and that would be very valid. But I don't see it that way. I think that, we're more likely just kind of looking at this floor collapsing and then, a slightly bigger dump into this 103 range. That's kind of usually how I think I've seen these things play out. So I'm going to be kind of looking for that here, and then we just got to see how Bitcoin responds to 103, right? I mean, if it just falls flat through it, then, that's not giving us a good sign for 100. But if we get a nice kind of substantial bounce off it and then we come back down, I mean, to me, this just looks like a nice controlled downtrend. So it would actually make me more confident in 100, right? As opposed to a stronger bounce that indicates, significantly more market weakness. So that's my read on the market. Sometimes I just don't really want to have a particularly strong bias, and this is one of those times. And I think it kind of comes back to what I said at the beginning of the video. If ego kind of prevents you from doing stuff like this, then you got some pretty deep problems, you know, and you might want to look at them. You might want to look at them. Maybe not. Maybe you don't need to. Maybe you're just built like that. But maybe you're like the rest of us, and you are. Maybe you're subject to human nature, just like the rest of us. So I don't know. We've all got different opinions on that, but I can't recommend Market Wizards enough. This book is amazing. It's really, really good. It's, you know, top traders being interviewed, telling you their wisdom. I mean, what else do you want? So check it out for sure. And then also check out Levex in the description. Really, really cool platform. They've got proof of reserves, all that good stuff that you're looking for. We'll be talking about them a little bit more, but I don't want you to miss out on the exclusive updates and things like that in the meantime. So check that out if you're interested. Smash up those likes, subscribe, tick the bell, all that good stuff, and we will see you all in the next one. Cheers.